Imagine going on a hike, snapping a selfie at the trailhead, and then, poof, you vanish. No footprints, no sound, no goodbye text, just gone. And not in a "they ran off to start a new life in the Bahamas" way. I'm talking full-on vanish without a trace, no explanation, cue the X-Files theme kind of disappearance. We're diving into the top 5 places where people vanish without a trace, and the spiritual theories behind them. Yes, the kind of places where compasses freak out, animals go silent, and the air gets heavy like you just walked into a dimension you weren't supposed to see. Number 5, the Bennington Triangle, Vermont. Ever heard of it? Probably not. It's like the Bermuda Triangle's creepy cousin that lives in the forest and doesn't talk much. Between 1945 and 1950, 5 people vanished here. Locals say the woods feel wrong. One hiker, Paula Weldon, literally disappeared while on a well-marked trail right in front of other hikers. 1 second she was there, the next, poof. Spiritual theorists believe the area is a thin spot, a place where the veil between worlds is weaker, where entities or even interdimensional rips might suck the unprepared straight through. You ever felt like you were being watched in the woods? Yeah, maybe you were, but not by a bear. Number 4, Hoia Baciu Forest, Romania, known as the Bermuda Triangle of Transylvania, because of course it is. This forest isn't just spooky, it's aggressive. Electronics die, lights appear with no source, and there's a perfectly circular clearing where nothing grows. No, seriously, nothing. Even the grass avoids it. In 1968, a military technician snapped a photo of a supposed UFO hovering over that clearing. He vanished 2 weeks later. Some believe the clearing is a portal, not metaphorically, like an actual spiritual highway. Locals say it's a cursed place. Some even claim they went in and came out different. One woman entered the forest and lost time, came out hours later with burns on her arms and no memory of where she'd been. Number 3 is way closer to home, the Superstition Mountains, Arizona. Legends go back to the Apache, who called the area sacred and cursed. The story goes that the mountains are protected by spirits, and those who go looking for the lost Dutchman's gold may not come back, and many haven't. Since the 1800s, over 100 people have disappeared in this range. Modern-day hikers vanish without explanation. No signs of struggle, no gear, just silence. Theories range from hidden cave systems to spiritual guardians who don't appreciate nosy tourists. One urban explorer said he saw a man made of smoke blocking a path. He turned around. Smart guy. Others weren't so lucky. Let's get darker. Number 2, Lake Anjikuni, Canada. This one isn't just a single person vanishing. It was an entire village. In 1930, a fur trapper named Joe LaBelle visited a small Inuit settlement on the shores of Lake Anjikuni and found it completely empty. Fires still burning, food half-eaten, no signs of struggle, no footprints leading away. Even the sled dogs were found dead and buried in ice. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police investigated, but found nothing. Zero evidence. Spiritual explanations? Some say the villagers were taken by sky beings. Others whisper that a shaman opened a gateway, and the village fell through. Creepy? Absolutely. But something happened, and it wasn't just cabin fever. Now for the one that gives even seasoned paranormal investigators goosebumps. Number 1, Mount Kailash, Tibet. Revered as sacred by 4 religions, including Hinduism and Buddhism, this mountain isn't just holy, it's weirdly off-limits. Not by law, but by legend. No one has ever successfully climbed it. Not because it's too steep, but because those who try either turn back on their own or, yep, disappear. It's said that time behaves differently on Mount Kailash. Clocks spin uncontrollably. Hair and nails grow days' worth in just hours. Some believe it's the axis mundi, the spiritual center of the universe, and that ascending it could lift the soul right out of the body. There's even a legend of a Russian climber who attempted the peak and aged rapidly before dying mysteriously. Ancient texts say only the pure of soul can ascend. So, maybe the mountain's just saying, no jerks allowed? You still with me? Great, because here's where it gets real. These aren't just stories. There are people behind every one of these mysteries. Real families, real losses, and real fear. And as much as we want to explain it all away with science, GPS errors, or overactive imaginations, sometimes the spiritual explanations make more sense, or at least feel more honest. One woman I interviewed, a sister of a man who vanished in the Superstition Mountains, told me he always felt like something was calling him there, like the desert was whispering his name. That man had been sober for years, experienced, and left detailed notes about his trip. He still disappeared, no trace. Another case, a Romanian couple visited Hoia Baciu just for fun, took photos, made jokes. They started acting erratic days later, panicked, paranoid, and finally silent. Their camera had no photos saved, despite the fact they'd uploaded everything to the cloud mid-hike. Their psychologist called it an acute trauma response. But to what? And it's not all negative. One monk claimed he went into Mount Kailash's foothills for 3 days and came out with visions so powerful he left behind his worldly life to become a spiritual teacher. Said he saw the blueprint of the soul. No drugs, no dehydration, just clarity. So what's the takeaway here? Other than maybe don't wander into cursed forests or climb sacred mountains on a dare, here it is. Some places aren't meant to be understood. They're meant to be respected. Not everything in life is binary. Not every mystery has a logical solution, and maybe that's okay. Maybe the fact that we can't explain these places is exactly what makes them sacred, terrifying, and beautiful. But hey, if you do go hiking in any of these places, maybe leave a note, just in case. Okay, we've been from misty Vermont forest to cursed Romanian woods. Let's get mystical. Number 5, the Bennington Triangle, Vermont, where the woods literally eat people. But here's a twist. Some witnesses report hearing siblings calling for each other, even when they were alone. One night, a couple camping heard a child's laughter echo off the trees. They ran, found no one. The laughter didn't stop, just faded. They left before dawn. Sure, they probably caught a bear cub or maybe something else. Some shamans say Bennington is a fracturing, a portal too weak to control, like a rip in the cosmic fabric, and souls wander in those woods now, searching forever. Number 4, Hoia Baciu Forest, Romania, the official photon-free zone. Because electronics don't work there, but the strange bits go deeper. One woman explored a trail and captured on video what looked like her own pulse slowing, until she lurched forward, fell, and lay there for hours unaware. When she came to, her legs were burned. No recollection whatsoever. She didn't lose a day. She lost years of her soul, supposedly. Psychology calls it dissociation, but locals call it stolen. Maybe something in that forest takes parts of your soul in exchange, or just eats time. Either way, it doesn't give it back. And then we hit number 3, Superstition Mountains, Arizona. Let me tell you about David Parks. He was a seasoned hiker. He loved the range. One evening, he disappeared. Camera left with tracks leading up the trail. His GPS pinged moments later. 20 miles away. No vehicle. No footprints. No explanation. One psychic diagnosed location. He's outside time now. Another archaeologist admitted to seeing footprints in the rocks that glowed at night. No explanation offered. Hikers avoid that trail. Legends call them stones of spirits, used by guardians to erase entire people. Number 2, Lake Anjikuni, that vanished village in Canada. People don't vanish once there. They drown together, footprints stamped out as if sucked underground. One former RCMP officer confided, they found no footprints across 6 feet of snow. It was as if everyone just evaporated. Conspiracy theories talk UFOs or government cattle lifts, but local elders tell of a shaman mispronouncing the name of an old god. They say that God demanded a tribute, 12 souls, and the flood was the payment. Inuit oral histories speak of columns of light, followed by chanting, not human. That leaves us with the number 1 place I warned you about, Mount Kailash, Tibet. Let me be clear, people don't just climb it. They walk the Kora, the sacred circle, clockwise or counterclockwise depending on faith. That trail is supposed to purify, but there are tales of pilgrims fainting, going blank, or returning changed. One Japanese monk returned permanently mute. A taxi driver saw him in Lhasa, staring into thin air, with tears on his cheeks. When asked if he saw God, the monk just shook his head and said, "I'm lost now," and found. Researchers in sensory deprivation labs couldn't replicate it. Tibetans call it the Eye of Shiva. That mountain knows your soul and tells it something beyond words. Real people vanish. Real families grieve. Now let me tell you about Emma Carter from Arizona. She's the sister of a man who vanished in the Superstition Mountains. She told me he texted her, "I feel like someone's showing me the way," before he disappeared. 2 months later, his GPS showed him at a mesa 15 miles out, climbing a sheer rock face. She said he disappeared, just walked off the cliff. Everyone hopes he found something, even if it wasn't him anymore. Then there's Ion and Maria, the Romanian couple who wandered into Hoia Baciu as tourists. Their friends found them a week later in Bucharest, unable to speak, terrified, cameras deleted, phones broken. They looked at the interview and scoffed. "Not me," they said. The part where they drove through the forest at full speed, they remembered nothing. Their glowingly calm friends said half their skins were burnt. They live day to day now, checking compasses and fearing for the other dimension. And there's Pema, a Sherpa pilgrim in Tibet. She did the Kora 3 times on Kailash. Each time she says she heard voices, preaching forgiveness. Each time she felt lighter. But on the 4th Kora, she collapsed, speaking in a tonal language. Locals say she's one of the wind voices now, someone who can no longer speak human. She sits on the monastery steps chanting tones nobody else understands. Pilgrims smile, cry, or avert eyes. They call it a blessing. Pema's family calls her haunted. Now let's talk why some spiritual theories resonate more than scientific ones. Psychology says they're dissociative states, memory loss, hallucinations. Sure, but you can't deny the GPS data, the missing villages, the hilariously loud silences, the broken electronics. Tools fail, memories vanish, lives alter completely. Spiritual theories say these places are thin spots, windows, not illusions. They connect to the ancestor world, or to something predatory, or yin and yang, space-time shifting, or the axis mundi, where Earth meets spirit. And here's the kicker. Maybe reality is bigger than our iPhones. Maybe the world is way more dramatic when you step off grid, when you leave GPS, when you let go of control. So what's the takeaway? We spent 3,000 years recording scriptures, shadows, omens, rituals, and yet we still casually hike into those zones wearing neon shoes and selfie sticks. We scroll past warnings, bright red flags, do not enter. We treat myths like drunk uncles telling stories. We ignore, we risk, we vanish. But here's the choice. Respect the unknown. Take it seriously. Ride a mountain with mindfulness. Walk a forest quietly. Think twice before you camp under strange lights. It's not about fear, it's about awe. Here's one last real story to wrap this up. My friend Lisa went camping near the Bennington Triangle. She left early, said something whispered her name. In the morning, the note was gone. She left behind a photo of a place she never saw, and she hasn't returned. Not yet. Some folks brushed it off. Too dramatic, too storybook. They like answers, and that's fine. But there are places that refuse to be explained, and they refuse us too. So, by now you're probably wondering, if people really vanish without a trace in these places, why do any of us keep going back? Well, here's the uncomfortable answer no one really wants to say out loud. We're addicted to mystery, like moths to a flame, like tourists to cursed temples, like people in horror movies who say, let's split up. Some folks are drawn to these places not despite the danger, but because of it. They're hoping to see something more, something beyond the veil, a glimpse of the truth behind the curtain, a crack in the simulation. And maybe, just maybe, they do. Let's go deeper for a moment, not spooky, just real. A 2011 study from the University of Virginia looked into liminal spaces, those in-between places where perception gets fuzzy. Turns out our brains actually crave uncertainty. It lights up the same reward centers as winning a bet or falling in love. Meaning, when we're walking through a foggy forest that's just a little too quiet, we're high on the thrill, even if our skin's crawling. Now imagine a place like Hoya Baciu or Mount Kailash, a location that's literally designed to bend your sense of self, your reality, your ego, the very thing you call you. It's not just spooky, it's spiritual. People who've gone missing sometimes come back saying they understand something new. Others return different, like a clock was reset inside them, or maybe something got erased. Here's a case you really won't forget. Cameron Leeds, age 17, hiked the Bennington Triangle with friends, went missing for 8 hours, reappeared next to the trail as if nothing happened. But his watch was gone, his phone was shattered, and when they got back to town, he looked at a McDonald's and asked, "What's that?" Like he'd never seen one, ever. Neurologists said there was nothing wrong with his brain, but Cameron, he started drawing spirals, dozens, hundreds, always the same shape. His parents think it's trauma. His sister thinks he saw something no human brain was supposed to see. And me, I think he got a message, the kind you can't say out loud. Let's jump continents again, because another case that still gives me chills? 2019, Russian hiker Lyudmila Sokolova. She was climbing near Lake Baikal, yes, the same area where UFO sightings and sky whales are reported. She texted her partner, "The clouds aren't moving. The light is pulsing." Then her GPS froze. She reappeared 30 hours later, 10 miles from her last point. Her boots were dry even though it had rained all night. And she said, this is a direct quote, "The sky opened." I felt like a thought, not a person, just a thought. Excuse me? What kind of poetic cosmic horror is that? And more importantly, what did she mean? Here's what a few mystics and spiritual thinkers say. Some places are conscious, alive, not just landscapes, but entities. These places aren't just stages for human drama. They're participants. They decide who comes and who stays and who doesn't leave the same. Which brings us to this. Why are these vanishings so often tied to spiritual sites? Think about it. Mount Kailash isn't just a rock. It's considered the spiritual axis of the world by Hindus, Buddhists, Jains, and Bon followers. Lake Anjikuni has indigenous lore that goes back millennia. The Superstition Mountains were sacred to the Apache and feared by gold seekers. So maybe these disappearances are more than just mysteries. Maybe they're messages. Maybe people aren't being taken. Maybe they're being called. And that brings us to you. Yes, you, the person still watching this video, 3,000 words later. Why are you still here? Is it just curiosity? Or are you chasing something too? Maybe you felt it, that tiny shiver when you enter an old building, that weird silence before a storm, that feeling someone's watching you from the woods. Maybe you're not crazy. Maybe you're not paranoid. Maybe you're tuned in. Because here's the truth. We live in a world that wants everything explained, everything mapped, every mystery squeezed dry until it becomes a tourist trap. But some things refuse to be known. And maybe that's their purpose. Not to scare us, not to lure us, but to remind us that we are not the center of everything. That somewhere out there, beyond the glowing screens and concrete jungles, is a wild, untamed, utterly unknowable force, just waiting. Not for believers, not for skeptics, but for the open-hearted. So next time you take a hike, or drive through a strange forest, or stand on the shore of an ancient lake, pause, look around, breathe in, and ask yourself, what if something's watching? What if something's listening? What if the vanishing isn't an end, but a beginning? Because maybe, just maybe, not all those who disappear are lost. Some are found in a place we haven't learned how to name yet. And that, my curious friend, is why you should probably think twice before ignoring that eerie feeling. Sometimes it's just anxiety. Sometimes it's caffeine. And sometimes it's a warning.